Well, good afternoon. I just want to welcome you all into our podcast interview today, what we call Come Back to Give Back, a restorative justice practices approach from prison to community life. And I'm your host, Salim Hilton. They call me Baba Salim, they call me Dr. Salim, and they call me Baba. And I'm here today with what I consider one of my community's sons, a young man that I met in the work, as a matter of fact. And it's been just a wonderful journey to come in contact with all of these dynamic young men that have gone off to long prison stays and come back in and really making a concerted effort to make a difference in their community. My wife, Mama Ivy, and I had an opportunity to train many of them in restorative justice, and majority of them have taken the practice and made the most of it and really making a difference in the community. So I want to, at this time, welcome Donnell Copeland to our podcast and to tell you, my good brother, what a pleasure it is to be in your company today.
The pleasure is all mine, man. I'm honored. I feel honored. I'm got butterflies and jitters and everything, man.
Oh, boy, you're so kind. You know how to make the barber feel good, huh?
Being in your presence, man. No, really, it's an honor.
Yeah.
Really an honor.
Well, I thank you, man. I mean, some of you that I work with in the community, we had an immediate connection. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I guess because of our faith and being from D.C. and coming up in the street, I just happened to be the elder statesman of where you all are in your lives. And I want to tell you that it has made a tremendous difference in my life meeting all of you brothers, man. I mean,
you and Mama Ivy definitely made a definite impact on our life.
Well, I appreciate that.
We definitely appreciate it, man. And like I said, anytime you need us for anything, because of the support you gave us and the training that you gave us, we're here for you.
Well, that's a good thing, man. I'm glad to hear that. And, you know, I just wanted to have you all in here. I consider the ones that I invite to sit down with me as the superstars of the training that we did, you know, the ones that really paid attention and have taken the work and gone out and actually making a difference in the communities using restorative justice practices. So that's why you're here. Mm-hmm. And as we talk a little bit, Donnell, I would like to kind of go back into your early life. And let's talk about what your childhood was like, the kind of family that you came up in, what part of town were you in, and how old were you when you first got involved with juvenile or criminal justice in the system?
Okay. First, I grew up right there off a Call Place, 5,000 Call Place, Southeast. Went to J.C. Null. Normal childhood. My father passed away when I was 1. Oh, wow. So I turned to the street for guidance, male guidance. I was raised by 4 aunts, grandmother, you know, uncle in jail, same story.
Same story.
You know, but I was able to venture out because I had family members that lived in different parts of the city. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes it so exciting for me to come back to these neighborhoods, because my aunt lived in 1,000, so that put me around Potomac Gardens, the southwest area. My grandmother lived uptown off of South Dakota, so that gave me that wide range of people up there. And then, of course, my background being from Southeast over on Call Place. So pretty basic childhood, you know, the struggle, same things, watching my mother transition a lot from place to place, getting put out and notices on the doors and, you know, and end up turning to the street to try to help out in the household.
And what age was that when you studied?
12.
12. Mm-hmm. What age were you when you picked up your first charge?
I didn't pick up my first charge until I was 25.
Oh, you was one of them smart street hustlers.
I wouldn't say smart. I just was able to escape because it was different neighborhoods. So when they get hot around one neighborhood, I just go around the next one, you know.
Okay.
And I always had a personality to blend with people and mix with people, and, you know, so it wasn't no issues in none of the areas that I was able to go into.
So you escaped the the Oak Hill and all of
Yeah,
that.
never had any of
Yeah, isn't that something, man?
that. Lord, none of those things.
Isn't that something? Because, most of the guys that I sit down here with have gone through like a journey of Oak Hill, Youth Center, Lawton Penitentiary, federal system. So you are an exception, man. So how, you said you escaped it all. Can I ask you, what kind of offense did you get at 25 that sent you away? Is that when you did your longest bit?
Yes, that's when I did 247 months, 20 years, 7 months.
Good
And that was
God,
my first charge, actually.
Good God
I
Almighty.
had misdemeanors like driving without a license in Montgomery County and things of that nature, but nothing violent or anything like that.
Well, tell me a little bit about, or tell us, the viewing audience as well. What was it like? I know they sent you out into some other state and what have you. What was that like, being away from your family like that?
Well, initially, when we were incarcerated, we was placed in D.C. jail. But because some of the guys that was telling on us was coming to the jail, they moved us to Charles County.
Okay.
So that was our first interaction with that. But it was a dramatic change coming from a family structure and, being a provider and all of those things for your family to be being taken away. And now they have to provide for you.
Right.
So the tables turn. So that's why you got to be careful how you treat people. Because what goes up comes down eventually.
Got to come down. How far did you go in school?
12th grade.
Okay.
I had football scholarships to play football and everything, and I chose to stay in the street.
Isn't that something, man?
Yeah.
It's not the unusual story. What did you play on the line?
Yeah, I was offensive and defensive line. I went to Easton. I was kicked out of Easton for behavior issues. And then I went to Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt.
Right, okay.
And that's when I met Coach Till. I was in the basketball real heavy, but I was always too big, so they was telling me, man, get on the football field. You got good footwork, this, that. And then mind you, this is the thing that people may not know about me. I never played no little league, nothing.
Is that right?
Nah, my first time on the football field organized was at Roosevelt.
Well, you were just an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, man.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your restorative justice training, man. What was that like for you to be introduced to something of that dynamic nature? And did you immediately see how it could benefit the community as well as yourself?
Yes, I definitely. I think it was like the first week of training that we was going through. And I was just sitting there. I found myself just sitting, like, thinking, like, man, if we would have had this years ago, if we'd have understood this years ago.
I know.
And then when you broke down the different circles and the ancestors and all of those things that we was just speaking about, it was all it came full circle for me. I was just like, man, he just really just made this work easier for us.
Let me tell you, Donnell, excuse me, because of our style of training, as you probably know, we had contracts to train all around the city, the schools,
government agencies,
everybody,
all those things.
yeah, right. And so what really hooked y'all was because we have an Afrocentric approach in our training.
Right.
We take advantage of having you all as an audience to teach you things that you wouldn't normally get in school or in the street, which would broaden your understanding and horizon about not only the community, but who you are as an individual.
Yep, as a person.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So it's interesting that you brought that up, because the upper echelon, in the DC public school system, they didn't want us to come back and train their people, man. Yeah, because we would teach them about culture,
They don't want you,
spirituality.
Definitely don't want you knowing none of that.
And it didn't fit. So that's the way it goes. So we understand what politics is about, but we know by the grace of God that we were able to tap into a lot of people, man, and help a lot of people make a transformation in their lives.
Definitely, and I'm one of those people, and I'm greatly honored for that. And I use the restorative justice practice even into my own house.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
How are you using it, and how have you benefited from it
Well,
individually?
how I'm using it in the workplace, it helps me out a lot. Like, because again, I'm a violence interrupter.
Right.
So I have to go into different neighborhoods, deal with different people and personalities and all of these things. So I'm able to use the restorative justice structure to have them sit down and to make them comfortable and to bring things, to put into the circle and all of these things. The practice is just the practice. And then I take from what you and Mama Ivy, because what the buy-in was for us is that it felt like family.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It felt like I'm sitting there talking to my grandmother and my grandfather.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Or my aunt or my uncle.
Right.
However the age bracket fits,
Yeah,
So
sure.
it just made it more comfortable, and it was so elementary on the teaching. Like, it wasn't a collegiate thing that we had to try to sit down and figure out. It was just things that we already been doing, but it's just under an umbrella and under a structure.
That's the beauty of it, and that's why we trained and taught the way that we did. We tried to take the most simplistic approach to convey information and understanding to someone so that they can grasp it, so that they can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may recall that I would always talk about, if you do this work long enough, you will find yourself becoming a restorative person. Have you felt that?
Yes, definitely.
And what does that mean?
It means, you have a different way of thinking and handling and processing and digesting problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it better for me because I'm a hothead. You might not know it, but it only takes, if you push my button, I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm able to just sit back and kind of analyze things and put myself in other people's places and, just sympathize with people and understand that everybody's not going to always have a good day. And opposed to firing somebody or getting rid of somebody or whatever, we take this approach and restructure the whole situation. That way we help the harm and the person that was doing the harm.
Go ahead, my brother.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand
so
what
you hear
you're
my
saying.
teachers
I do.
regurgitate.
Yeah. And Mama Ivy has an opportunity to see some of these, man, and she'd be so thrilled
Mm-hmm.
to hear how you all are articulating the information that we gave you all, man. It's just a wonderful feeling. This is Salim Hilton here, and I'm talking about how restorative justice is being used by a number of returning citizens here in the District of Columbia. And I call this podcast, which God willing will become a documentary, Come Back to Give Back, using restorative justice practices to not only have a better community, but also redemption for the returning citizen, because they also are finding out that this is an excellent way to give back
Mm-hmm.
to the community for whatever harm that they caused that brought them into the system. Now they have some form of release and redemption, or should I say relief and redemption, by using this practice in their work every day.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing that I can say, and I'm a testimony to it. Like I said, again, I use it in my own personal household. I recently remarried, and I have a daughter that I moved from Atlanta up here with me.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, she's up here with me.
Oh,
now.
alhamdulillah.
So she lives up here with me. So it was a challenge for her and my new wife
Of course.
communicating and getting along.
Sure.
So I had to sit them down and, use the
There you
RJ
go.
circle
There
and,
you
and
go.
get them like, okay, so what's the problem? What's this? What's that?
Right.
And it gives everybody a voice, because when one person is speaking, you're forced to listen.
There you go.
And that's what a lot of people don't do these days. And my grandmother used to always say, that's why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. If he wanted you to talk more, he gave you 2 mouths and 1 ear. So, it forces you to listen. It gives the person a voice. And
Absolutely.
it gives you clarity on how they're really feeling, because
Absolutely.
now you're forced to sit and listen, and you have to process that information, opposing everybody listening to respond.
Can you think of any highlight that you have witnessed since you left the training and brought this training into your work that stands out the most that you would like to mention?
Um, Several, but the one that I can see where a couple of guys like me, Wally, Musa, all of us were
All the
able,
brothers.
all the brothers was able to do with the Simple City and 37 beef.
Okay.
So we was able to take them out of the neighborhood and have a sit down with them in an RJ circle, and that brought about a mediation and a ceasefire. So I would say that that would probably be the height of my RJ
I
experience.
would think so. What is the atmosphere between them now since that has been resolved?
Okay, so well, we had a couple of issues where you understand that that was probably 5 years ago.
Right.
So in that 5 year span, we probably had a break of a treaty probably twice,
Okay.
but we was able to get it back under control using the RJ format.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool to know that they still listen and they still respect the process.
And then, too, through years, you grow older, you mature, your understanding about life changes a lot,
Yeah, definitely.
and God willing for the better.
Hmm.
So, do you give any thought to your journey as far as going into the prison system and who you are now as a man?
Yes, I have. Well, you know that me and with Bridges, me, Lukman, and Buhaira,
Right.
we were. Well, Buhaira does all the stuff like going into the prisons and doing all of those things because he has the clearances.
Right.
And so in that process of just being able to reach out and to go into these communities and to go into these facilities
Mm-hmm.
where the problem really starts. But we're getting a lot of red tape about that now. Us being convicted felons and
Right.
going back into the system. It
Right.
wasn't that hard when we was at DYRS's Credible Messenger.
Absolutely. I know.
But now that we're not under that umbrella anymore, it's a little bit more challenging. So we have to get people that are more qualified to just go in, you know. So we're really not going in as much as we would like to.
And the brother who was going in, he wasn't trained in RJ though, right?
No, but he's still asking me today, hey, when you gonna holler at Baba Salim and Mama Ivy about that's Buhaira? He always asks.
Well, we could do that. We can schedule it for some of the times that I'm in town.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, a good full day or two of giving you a consolidated training and it would be a good refresher for you as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So we can talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's needed. I think a refresher is needed throughout the agency, period.
Because I know Lukman had been asking me about it for a long time too.
Yeah, him and Buhaira ask all the time.
Well, we have to talk about that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to say before we close out, do you have any closing comments that you'd like to make regarding the restorative justice training, your lifestyle? Have you become a better person? And what would you recommend to people who are listening or looking at this podcast as far as restorative justice to your life in your life?
Well, first of all, I would advise that every person in every facet of life get trained on RJ. Mm-hmm. Because it, like I said again, it clarifies the process. Like if you harm somebody and you're not giving them that chance to tell you how they were harmed,
right?
Because like a lot of times the person that's getting harmed is deemed as the weaker person.
Yeah, I know.
You understand what I'm saying? That don't have that voice.
Right.
So you're giving voice to the voiceless.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And not only are you giving voice to the voiceless, you're allowing people to express emotions and things that would be bottled up and could possibly cause more harm down the line by not being able to express themselves and let them know how they was hurt.
Well, we need to take this in the prison system more. One of our philosophies were that when brothers or the sisters are coming home, maybe about 6 months before they're released, we go in and run circles to really restore a lot of not only the harm that they've caused in the community and in the prison, but the harm that they've caused themselves, so that they'd be more prepared when they come home.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Definitely.
so that's a model that I'd like to put forth. And Mama Ivy and I, we're actually licensed chaplains as well, and we haven't taken advantage of that as much because of our schedule.
Right.
And she has shifted a lot with what she does now, because she has, during the pandemic, she came up with this healing tool called Sound Spa. You remember how she used those crystal bowls?
And the what's the wand that goes around?
I don't know what you call that wand.
She told me too, but
I'm gonna
forgive
tell
me,
you.
Mama Ivy. I'm sorry that I forgot that name.
Well, look, I forgot it too, so I got to live with it.
Yeah.
But she's gone global with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. She's been to. She went to the Olympics and worked with some of the African athletes.
Yeah.
She went to Mexico. I mean, she just come back. She just come back from a retreat with 60-some men, and she was the only woman. And she went up there to do a healing with the crystal bowls. So that's really blown up. So she don't have time to do the restorative justice training as she used to. But I told you off, I guess 5 years ago, that I wanted to do just what we're doing now. I wanted to sit you all down and have you tell your story and how this tool has made a difference in your life.
How it made a difference in my life, it forces me to understand pain, trauma, and all of these things in a different light. You understand what I'm saying? Like before I didn't. And people would be talking to me and telling me that. So now with RJ training, I'm able to listen and analyze and feel the pain and really be a part of the healing process. So like you said, it changed my life dramatically because I no longer want to destroy my neighborhood.
Isn't that something?
Right. And I'm able to see with a clear lens on what needs to be done in those neighborhoods. And that's really the RJ practice.
Have you ever considered being a trainer?
You spoke to me about that.
You know, because you have a real good understanding about that, man.
Yeah, and it's only through the simplicity of you and Mama Ivy.
Yeah.
That I understood that.
Isn't that something?
And like you said, when we met, it was a genuine, I looked at like y'all was my uncle and my aunt.
I know.
Immediately. You know, like, so it brings about a different respect.
Yeah.
You know, and training. I hate trainings. I'll tell you that first
I
and
know
foremost.
I've heard that before.
I can't stand them. Can't stand them. And you had me in the woods and everywhere following you with these trainings. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's a good practice. I feel like every entity needs it. Fire department, police department, schools, libraries, medical facilities, everywhere.
You're right. You know,
I think that they need to be trained in that
Speaking
as
about
well.
police departments, we had a contract with the Fort Myers, Florida Police Department. And we did a whole lot of work down there, man. We had some healing circles, and there was so much trauma going on. I mean, you know, same thing like here in D.C. and most of these cities, a lot of shootings and stuff. But they took the training for what it was worth, but it was so much racism on the force that it was hard to get them to sit still and talk to another black person or a black person in that circle.
Period.
But yes, because there weren't that many blacks on the force.
Right.
But it's something that can be used to break some racial barriers as well.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you a quick story before we end that I forgot about. While I was incarcerated on my second time, when you remember you were coming over.
Sure.
And I had an incident between the Muslims, Christians, the chaplain. It was about Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
and they wasn't bringing us our food and all of those things in a proper manner. So I had one of the brothers that came that was a Muslim chaplain, one that was a Jewish chaplain, and we were able to sit down with some of the guys in the prison and explain through the RJ process of the harm and the things that they was causing us.
Wow, that is so
So,
powerful.
and the outcome of that was that we got the proper meals at the proper time. We was able to pray together for Ramadan because, you know, in jail they try to tell you you can't pray together,
Wow.
you know. And, you know, in Islam, that's major. You get rewarded 7 times for praying with other people.
Sure.
So those things, those are some of the ways that the RJ Circle was very effective, I would say. The training, the process, everything was very effective. And nobody got, like you said, the racial barriers, the religious barriers, all of those things don't exist inside the RJ Circle.
That's right, man.
You understand what I'm saying? It just doesn't exist because the process. And as long as you're doing it right, it'll work.
Well, that's a wonderful closing statement. I want to say again, this has been Come Back to Give Back, using restorative justice practices for redemption and also to improve the quality of life in the communities. And I've been talking to Brother Donnell Copeland, who is a violence interrupter here in the District of Columbia, and deeply involved with trying to bring some resolve to all of the shootings amongst the young people here. And I want to say, Donnell, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today, and I look forward.
Pleasure is all mine.
Yeah, I look forward to us getting together again, and by the will of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be able to train
Inshallah.
some of you and teach you how
Put
to
me
be
in
a
that. Put me in that first cohort.
yeah, let you
I'll
be a
be there.
trainer, man. I like to see that
Yeah.
because you got what it takes.
I love the work though. I really do. Like right now, we lost contracts, and I'm still doing the work.
That's
Still
what
here.
That's what I'm telling you.
You know what I'm saying?
It becomes a part of your
yeah.
being, man.
Mhm.
You know,
Can't put it down with pay or no pay. It still need to be done.
I did it for years for no pay.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it was a part of who I become.
Right.
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 So I want to thank you again, my brother, and may
Always the
God
pleasure
continue
is
to
mine,
bless you,
I'm
man.
inshallah.
And
Inshallah.
I'll look
Inshallah.
forward
It was
to
my pleasure.
talking
It's
to
my
you.
pleasure.
And let's talk later on about that transportation thing.
Okay, I got you.
All right.
I got you.
All right. Take care, man. Allah continue to bless you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah.